Hello, this is not something that I do often, but today I want to be unhauling or getting rid of some of my books. I've shown this many a time. This bookshelf is all that I have to work with. I'm looking to expand, but I have, this is just the angle we're gonna go for. I have one of those roofs that go like that, so I can't get a tall bookshelf with the space that I have in this room until I move out. I'm going to buy a house. For now, we're just dealing with the space that I have, which is this. Everything that is in my bookshelf here are things that I've read. And this goes back 3 rows of books. You can see my strategic positioning is to cover up the plugs in this video. And this little bottom corner here is the last space that I have, and that is currently up to here is where there are books. The rest are video games, and these are just like miscellaneous things. I can always like slide some books on top, but I hate how it looks and I'd much rather just pile them on the floor if that's going to be the case. And I've mentioned this before, but those 2 stacks up here are my TBR, so I've not read those books or I'm rereading some of them. That pile there is what I read in January, so that needs to be moved into down here. All in all, to say that I am running out of space and I have a whole bunch of books that I want to get rid of anyway, and I thought I'd go through them today. I do think that I may delve more into being a collector when I actually have the space, but not today. That being said, my bookshelf was well due a clean out, and I have a pile here behind the camera. That's the pile in all its glory. So let's talk through them today. I've got 13 books here with me. You can just see the top. I'm not sure if I want to get rid of every single one. And in terms of where these books are going to go, I have a few ideas. First port of call will be for some specific books that I think some friends or family would like. I'm going to reach out to them first and see if they'd like them. Other than that, there is also these little book stops where you exchange books, like you're supposed to leave one book and take one book. There is one of those relatively close to me, so I was thinking some of these I might drop off. If not friends or family or the book stop, then it is going to be to charity stores and give them a good home where they'll be much more appreciated with someone who has more storage space than me or someone who actually really wants to read these books. First up, we have The 120 Days of Sodom by the Marquis de Sade. I've talked about this book many a time. It is recently in my DNF video too. Didn't finish it. I think I said even in my reading vlog when I read this that I have no urge to keep this copy. I'm going to be getting rid of it as soon as possible. And as soon as possible is apparently February, not last year when I read it. So whatever. It does have an arse on the front, right? But it's kind of like artistic arse. So like I wouldn't mind having it on my bookshelf just for the appearance of it, and also because it's a Penguin classic, it makes me look very clever. But really, I just don't want it on my bookshelf. It's taking up space that I need for books that I actually want to read or reread, or books that don't make me want to shove my head in the oven. 120 Days of Sodom, absolutely getting rid of. Goodbye forever. In terms of where the Marquis de Sade will go, this absolutely cannot be this is not going to be a book stop, but I think it would genuinely be antisocial. I would be harassing the general public by leaving this in a book stop alongside like Frida McFadden and Patrick Ness books. Like this is not the vibe to be leaving in there. So that's probably just going to be a charity store, or I'm going to have to find someone who is curious enough to read this one. Next up is another one that I spoke about in my last video where I DNF'd stuff, and it's the Major Works of Oscar Wilde. This is a big book. Someone would definitely want this more than I do. It is beaten up. This was also originally a secondhand buy, so I don't know how many people have owned this book before me, but I've definitely contributed to the general wear and tear of a secondhand book. Like the notes page has come out. It's just one of those books that is so big that you have to end up snapping the spine to even be able to like read some of the margins. I'm going to check anyone who might want this before I give it to a charity store, because I know it's secondhand, but I do feel guilty handing in a book that's like in this quality. It's not the worst, but it's not amazing either. It's very well loved, let's just say that. In my DNF video, I talk about why I don't like most of Oscar Wilde's writing or the collection that's in here, and that is basically the main reason why I'm getting rid of it. It's also a really big book that I do not want to read, and I just don't want to have on my bookshelf. It's going to take up space, and I don't want it. In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami, I am not 100% sure if I want to get rid of this one. This was in my unrecommendable books video for being so horrific. Again, that morbid curiosity that's kicked in, because I remember really disliking how in-depth the gore and shock value was in this book, but I've also kind of forgotten exactly what happens. I have these glimmers of memories where it's like, oh yeah, there were 3 guys in a restaurant and this thing happened, but I can't exactly remember what the story around it was. Yeah, I'm not entirely turned off from the idea of reading this again, which is making me hesitate. So for now, that's actually going to go in a maybe pile. I'm not 100% sure. This next one is really weird. Lies We Tell Ourselves by Robin Talley. This was absolutely a book that I was given when I was maybe like 15. So the backdrop is the 1959 civil rights movement, and an all-white high school is accepting some of their first black students, and one of those girls who's black ends up in a romantic entanglement with the white daughter of like one of the most prolific segregationists of the town. It's kind of the vibe of like, these people should hate each other, but they don't. They find out they have more in common than they think, and they're in love, I think. I think this was bought for me when I came out at some point in my teenagehood, and they just saw it was gay, and that I liked civil rights and equality, and they were like, yeah, sure, get this. So this is not going to be on my bookshelf anymore. I don't even know why I still have it, if I'm honest. I never read it. No, this gives me the ick. I'm not gonna read that. And I think I'm just fine with never reading that book. Nipponia Nippon by Kazushige Abe. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Translated by Kerem Yasar. This is a very nice looking book. I absolutely picked this up because I enjoyed the cover. This is just a fine book. I think this might have to be a maybe though, because I kind of want to reread it. The premise of this book is that we follow a teenager in Tokyo who's very much like a shut-in and lives off of the generosity of his parents. He doesn't have a job, I don't think, and he just spends most of his time online going down this really deep rabbit hole, and he finds out about these endangered Japanese crane birds called Nipponia Nippon, and he has this moment of thinking like, I need to save them. I need to free these endangered birds from captivity. They're not supposed to be captive, even though they're endangered and it's supposed to be keeping them alive. But he sees it as his destiny to free these birds, and you follow him as he pursues going to free the birds and the methods in which he does that. It's very much like a very internal, introspective book of someone who needs a reality check, of someone who also needs help. It's very short. I think I might keep this one actually. It was on the pile because every time I see it on my bookshelf, I'm thinking, I feel so nothing about this book. I don't really want it on my shelves. But the more I'm thinking about it, the more I do actually want to reread it. You know what? That's the maybe pile. I'll think about that later. Weird Fiction, an anthology, and this is a Penguin Weird Fiction collection. This is a collection of like short, weird, creepy horror stories. Some of them I wouldn't really categorize as horror. I picked this up absolutely because of the cover, because it's very pretty. I like all the different colors. I like the gradient purpley pink spine. But also there were a lot of short stories in this anthology that I was interested in reading that I'd never come across before. So there was some Poe. I've never read any Edgar Allan Poe. There was Arthur Conan Doyle, Edith Wharton, and a H.P. Lovecraft. I think the only author I've read on that was Edith Wharton. And there's some other stories in there too. So there's The Monkey's Paw, which I've heard so much about, so I wanted to understand and see the origin of it. However, I feel like this collection is just not really for me. I couldn't even really tell you what happened in any of these stories. They've completely left my mind. So much to the point where I actually a few months ago was looking at a secondhand bookstore and I saw this really pretty copy of The Call of Cthulhu and other H.P. Lovecraft stories. And I was thinking, wow, it's crazy. I still haven't read any H.P. Lovecraft. I really just need to try and read some. I read H.P. Lovecraft. I've read The Call of Cthulhu in this book, and I just completely forgotten. I couldn't tell you what happens in The Call of Cthulhu. This really did not impress me. It didn't leave a lasting mark, and there's probably someone out there who would enjoy this better than I do. So we are getting rid of that. My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyin Khan Braithwaite. I talked about this multiple times in my tier listing video, in my horror reading vlog. I love the color scheme. I think the front cover is so cool. You know, it looks nice. But at the same time, when I finished this book, it was one of those that I immediately knew that I was not going to want to keep this for a long time because I was just so let down. It's just a nothing book in my opinion. I explained more about why I felt this in one of my videos. And what this book is about is the main character has a sister who's a serial killer who has previously killed a lot of her boyfriends. And when she notices that her sister is having eyes for her work crush, she starts to panic and thinks, I should really probably stop my sister from murdering all these men now because she's going to murder my own crush. That's basically most of the story without going into spoilers because it is a very very short book. Even though it's 250 pages or so, the chapters are so short, I just could not engage with anything. I felt so left on edge about everything. Nothing really felt tangible. There were clearly some very high stakes, but I didn't feel the pressure or the tension of the fact that someone could be killed and that her sister has killed before. Like, it just, none of that emotion came through for me. This was also actually a charity bookstore buy, so it's going back to the charity bookstore because I don't think this can go in a bookstop, and I don't think I know anyone who would want to own this book either. So off you pop. I feel bad about this one. It tells you something when you've really not enjoyed a book but you like what the author stands for, because I just feel bad every time I talk about this book. It is The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. It's not very good. It is about the Mexican folk demon La Llorona and how she appears to our main character, who is a struggling wife who has like a neglectful man baby husband and these two children that she has to try and take care of. And there's a lot of important messaging in there about womanhood and combating misogyny in your own home when you feel trapped. The weight of unpaid labor that mothers in particular have to carry. And I think also a lot of horror themes surrounding fertility and generational illness and things like that. Sounds very cool, but the writing is just not very good. I do love how this looks though. I love the color, and this came in a book box, so I feel bad about getting rid of it, but ultimately there will be someone who loves this and is happy to have it on their shelves, and that won't be me giving it away. Every Day by David Levithan. Woo! The bright neon orange one. This is a little bit busted up, but this was from a charity store as well for about £2, and it is going to go straight back to a charity store because I just outgrew this book. I read this for a reading challenge and I talked about it. It's got its own video, and I just don't have any interest in really keeping it past its time. I don't regret buying it because it was so cheap, and I will not regret getting rid of it either. It is just something that has served its purpose, and I'm ready for it to go. This absolutely would have been a library read if I could find it. Every day you are going to have a better time with someone else. This one's kind of funny and it's kind of not funny. Lost in the Garden by Adam S. Leslie. In my 2025 tier listing video, this was get in the bin. I really disliked this book. And I'm going to tell you this is not the copy of the book that I read. The copy of this book that I did read is at the back of my bookshelf somewhere. This is a new book, a new copy that I received in a blind subscription box, and I can't refund it. So I now have 2 copies of this book that I'm just not a fan of. I do, however, know someone who talked to me about this book. I'm going to check if they actually had a copy and if they want it. And then I will just have to figure out what to do with my original copy. Unhauling ×2. For this one. It is inherently very funny that I've received a book that I hate. I also talked about what this book is about in my other videos, so feel free to check that out if you'd like to. This is a weird one. I don't even know what this book is called. Change the World, written by M. This is a Death Note spin-off book. I've never read it. This is one I've never read, so I don't really know. This is a really beautiful novelization of, I guess, part of the Death Note manga. So you've got like these chapter indications at the top, like this really cool plasticky dust jacket that has individual details on. How beautiful is this? What a beautiful book. Thing is, I'm not really into Death Note anymore. It did its time. I'm just never gonna read this. This was very randomly given to me as a gift by someone from school. And that moment is really precious in my heart because it was so unexpected. It was just like, I think you'd like this, here you go. And it's such a cool book. But someone else will definitely love this. And I think I'm gonna designate this one to charity bookstore. We've got 2 left. This one is Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This massive book. I think I bought it a special edition when it first came out because I really loved The Night Circus by the same author. This is a very beautiful book, a cool edition that someone else will absolutely love way more than I ever will. I don't really like this book. This I actually do have in mind for someone, so I'm gonna ask them before. But yeah, I talked about the Starless Sea in my tier listing video. Again, just not really my vibe, and it's one of the massive ones that takes up a lot of space, so I'd rather just get rid of it and give it to someone who loves the story and the edition. I actually have more than 2. I think I have a few more looking at my bookshelf. I forgot one. This is a bit of a spoiler. I don't know if my scary TBR reading vlog will be out yet when I post this, but Soul Mountain by Gao Xingtian. I DNF'd this book like maybe around this far in. I just don't really have any motivation to be keeping this book. I'm never going to try and read it again. Maybe someone else will like it, but it is like such a tall and big book that I'd rather I don't want it on my shelf. I don't want to be thinking about it. It annoys me when I think about it, so we're going to get rid of it. That is that. If my scary TBR reading vlog isn't out yet, you will find out why then. So yeah, I said that I think there's an extra book here that I forgot, and that's because I didn't really take a look at my hardbacks because I just assumed that I'd want to keep all of them. But I think there's actually one that I do not want to keep. Maybe even two? It feels too soon to give that one away. That's The Invisible Hotel by Yeju by Ham. I want to get rid of this book, but at the same time it's really nice looking, and do I really want to get rid of it? I don't know. The one that I want to get rid of is Night Side of the River by Jeanette Winterson. This is such a beautiful book though. I don't have any strong feelings towards this book. I think someone else will enjoy this more than I do. Like when I look at my bookshelf, it was sticking out at me thinking like, I don't like this book, I don't want it on my bookshelf. So this is a collection of short ghost stories that I don't really remember much about, if I'm honest. I didn't find them very impactful or scary or interesting. What was probably more interesting about this book is that in between each of the chapters or the sections that Jeanette Winterson categorized her short stories into is these little non-fiction segments where Jeanette Winterson talks about her own experiences with ghosts and her own encounters, so to speak. And that was really interesting. It was an interesting way to do it, but I thought it was kind of goofy at times. But this is a beautiful book, and I think someone will be happy to have this rather than myself. Honestly, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else that I want to give away. Nope, I lied. I have one and it's staring right at the bottom of this pile that I don't want to get out. Here we have the first book that I read. The first book that I started reading in 2026, and it's Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. This is, again, a very beautiful book. Look how gorgeous she is. But I read it in January. I had more fun than I expected to, but I don't have any interest in keeping this book or getting the second book of the series. It's in really quite good condition considering I've had this for so long, so I think I will give this away to the charity bookstore. I keep saying this, but I truly think that a lot of these books, someone will see that and it will make their day in a charity bookstore. I'm just very neutral towards this book. It was fine, it did what it came to do, and I am ready to let go of it. Right, let's go back to these books that I maybe'd. For now, I'm gonna keep In the Miso Soup and Naponia Nippon. I'm happy for those to stay. They're so tiny and they slot really well into like the bottom of my bookshelf with the rest of my Japanese literature. That means we end up with, let me rearrange this because I've got like the biggest hardbacks on top now and it's dangerous. So we now have 13 books that I'm definitely giving away. There we go. This is the pile of books that I'm going to be getting rid of this year. I will separate these out into where I think they should be going to make sure that the 120 Days of Sodom doesn't end up in the bookstop and that I don't get excommunicated from my community. I think also it makes me feel so much better to know that books that I maybe hated or have no value to me can go to someone who will find value in it, and it will be much more loved than whatever I can give them. This is not a life for these books to be living. Me staring at them in hatred most of the time, or indifference. Anyway, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't think I'll be doing a video like this anytime soon. Like I said, this is a long time coming for some of these books. Some of them I did receive in 2025 and read and decided I want to get rid of, but a lot of these books are also books that I've owned for a very long time and only got around to reading last year. So it feels good to be letting go of some of these books and just kind of think that time of my life is over. We're done with this. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.